All the questions that you can add to a form are called elements. To add a new one, I'm going to click on the blue Add Element button. And this brings up a pop-up listing out all the types of elements that are available. And a quick tip before we start, you can click on the Show Preview button to get a visual example of each element. Our first element is the text area. This is a multi-line text field useful for things like comments. And to add it, I'm going to click on Add Element next to it. And the screen will transition to this pop-out interface on the side. Now this is where I can enter the name for my element. So for this one, I'm going to put comments. Now you may be noticing a lot of extra sections. These are very niche options and you won't have to worry about almost all of them. I'll point out along the way what you might want to pay attention to. For right now though, I'm done with my comments section. So I'm going to hit save. And it's going to appear in the list for me. And to check my work, I'm going to click on the View tab at the top. And this just shows me the live version of the form. And you can see that our element is now showing up. Heading back to build, I'll select Add Element again, and this time I want to choose Text Field. You can see from the preview this is just a single line of text, which is great for things like first and last name. I'm going to call this particular one first name. And instead of hitting save, I'm going to go down here and hit Save plus Add Element. And this is nice because it saves me a bit of time by bringing me back to the Select an Element interface right here. So I'm going to choose Text Field again. And add last name. Oh, misspelled that. And hit save. To check my work, I'm going to go over to the View tab and see that yes, I do have a first and last name field. Again, heading back to build, I'm going to add an email element. This looks very similar to the text field, except it actually checks for the format of an email. So if someone submits a form and forgets the @ sign on accident, it'll notify them. The only thing it can't do is check for an @osu.edu email address. If you really need someone to submit it in that format, the best thing we can do is name the element OSU email. And then down here in the form display accordion, there's a placeholder line. On this one, I'm going to enter in name.number @osu.edu. And then moving out to the live view of this page, you can see this inserts some gray placeholder text that disappears when I start to type. Both of these help prompt the user to enter their OSU email. Now, if you need to take a number from a user, you're going to want to use the Add a Number element. This is a bit limited in use cases, and for a lot of situations, you may need a number, such as a number of guests to an event, but you'll probably want to end up using a multiple choice option for that. However, say I want to know how many siblings a user has. Well, I'll add a number element, and I'm going to call this one siblings. And I can enter a minimum and maximum. So to ensure positive numbers, I'm going to enter a minimum of 0, and I'll leave maximum blank. And I'm just going to collapse my form display accordion and hit save. So changing over to the live version of the page, you can see I have a siblings field, and it's a little bit smaller and has these little arrows that help increase or decrease a number by 1. My last two elements are telephone and URL. At this time, I'm going to suggest that you use a text field instead of one of these, and this is for a couple of reasons. Telephone right now is a bit buggy on the user end and can throw a variety of frustrating errors to people taking your forms. URL does work, but it wants users to include HTTP or HTTPS at the beginning of a URL. If you're asking for a personal website, for instance, a user might just type in www.personalsite.com and get an error message because they didn't include the HTTP or HTTPS. To avoid frustration, just stick with the text field for right now. So before we finish out, let's just make sure all of these elements are required. Right now, all the user needs to do is hit submit. They don't actually need to fill out any of the elements. On the right side of the elements list, there's a line of checkboxes under a column named required. So I'm going to check off each element that I think should be required. Comments usually are not, so I'm going to leave that one unchecked. But names, emails, and other such questions are, so I'm going to check those ones off. And I want to hit Save Elements at the very bottom. Now when I view the page on the live version, there is a red asterisk next to each field that is required of the user.